Hi, I'm Ben Byes.
And I'm Carly Byes. We've been married for 12 years and together for 15 and have 2 boys.
This is our story of a controlling church and spiritual abuse and how it shook our relationship and clouded our view of God.
Our desire is that our honest view of pain and trauma in relationships can provide hope and the courage to hold on when life does not turn out as planned.
While also providing a dash of humor and loving banter.
We are still working to find wholeness, and we welcome you on. Welcome, everybody. We are officially back from hibernation. That was Ben's line. I stole it. Sorry.
I didn't say it because I didn't think it was a good line, so that's fine.
Hilarious.
You can steal it.
Yeah, we're back from hibernation. Really, it's been a couple weeks, and we apologize. Ben did have spring break last week, 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago, yeah.
We got to enjoy some family time, just the 4 of us in Palm Springs. I mean, who doesn't love a little dry heat in the pool all day, am I right?
Yep. Kids in the pool from 8 a.m. till 5 at night.
So true. The second they were out
great.
of bed, they were ready for the pool.
Yeah.
Which is fine. That's what vacation's
cool,
for,
man.
right? But that was a fun time. We got to spend a couple days together, just the 4 of us, and I mean, let's just be honest, it was not relaxing at all. Vacation with children is just no longer relaxing. But what I have found is that when I change the expectation to being relaxing and enjoyable, to, you know what? Like if I make it up in my mind that, this isn't going to be super relaxing, we may not get great sleep, but, we're making memories and we're having fun with our kids and we get to show them new experiences. It's amazing how much more enjoyable your time is.
Yeah, changes things a lot.
Yeah, and that's been really huge for me in motherhood. One of my biggest lessons, I feel like, is changing the expectations so that I don't let myself down by an unrealistic expectation. So you're welcome for that wealth of knowledge on this Mother's Day week.
Free advice.
Free advice.
Next one will cost you 50 cents.
So it was a fun time, though. It was wonderful weather, hot. That's my type of vacation, laying by a pool all day. Maybe a margarita in hand. Yeah, just the best. So it was a lot of fun. But we are back, and we're thinking that this is probably our final episode.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Unless there's an outcry of insane anger of it.
Unless there's
or
a
someone
encore.
someone has an idea for a new one then.
Well, I think just we feel like we're coming to a close in our story, and we may have future episodes in terms of I don't know, just maybe like recaps on things we're learning or additional pieces maybe that come to mind, but we also don't want to like really drag this out and bore you guys. So we feel like at this point it's a good ending to our story and where we are at today and kind of what has gotten us to where we are today, which is what we'll talk about this episode. And then just kind of give it some time and kind of see where it goes from there, I guess. But yeah.
Yep.
So kind of a lot of pressure to like make this a good one. There I go again. Unrealistic expectations that we're not going to meet.
Carly's got a perfectionist bar right now that no one's going to meet. So just enjoy it. Enjoy the sloppiness of life.
So we kind of ended last episode on what it took to get us to the point where we really felt like, okay, we're ready for like some significant changes in our life, and we're ready to recognize those and want to make those changes and whatever that looks like, whatever that takes. So what do you think was kind of the catalyst for that? I know we talked a little bit about having a second kid, kind of threw us for, I would say maybe like a freaking huge loop. And
yeah, all those people that say, hey, once you have one, the second kid's like no big deal. Screw you. Seriously, screw you. Second kid's way worse. And I'm sure they say that about the third. So,
no.
yeah, I'm sure we'll have a third.
So worse, worse is a terrible
It's just
word
harder.
to use.
Yeah, it's just harder. It goes from zone to man on man, and that's hard.
Okay, whatever that means. Anyways.
It means you have 2-on-1 and then
yes,
it's
I
2-on-2.
I understand.
You said whatever it means. So.
Yeah, I just, But yeah, it's not that it was worse. It just is for us. And I think for a lot of people it was the same way. And then a lot of people it wasn't as difficult. I think given just where we were in our life, it was a tough summer in terms of feeling ready for some change. And, 2 kids. I think honestly, I really believe it was like Tate coming along, who was our second born, really I think is what pushed us into making the decisions to, I guess, just kind of get back on track with our life. And I really do believe that. And I'm thankful that he came along when he did, because I think I was in such a place of, I don't want to say like despair, but like that first football season that he was born, and he was, I think, maybe like 5 months at that point.
Yeah.
So not like terribly difficult. Like that's almost like where it gets a little easier,
Yeah.
Like you're sleeping a little bit more. And he was like an easy baby. Like, so both of our kids have been really easy babies.
But
I think it's my anxiety that has like added to the difficulty of our life, and I think having kids just kind of like exacerbates every single issue that you have in your marriage and every issue you have in yourself, and it kind of just brings up every single flaw that you have. So what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say, and we had him, and then during the process of Carly being pregnant, the doctors found a tumor in my parotid gland, which is in my salivary gland. And I had surgery to remove the tumor, which was about the size of a ping pong ball in my neck. Was it a week after he was?
He was 2 weeks old when you had the surgery.
And it was one of those, not emergency surgeries, but they thought it wasn't cancerous, but it was going to keep growing. And the doctor had like months and months of a wait list. And they called me on a Sunday and said, or on a Monday and said, we have an opening on Thursday. And it was one of those things where we knew I had to have surgery before football season.
Yeah. Like the time.
Because I couldn't have it during football season. So I got to jump on it now. And me being invincible like I always feel, I thought, just take this thing out.
Well, let's back up.
We'll take this thing out, and then
let's
we'll just
like... If you had to have it during football season, you could have done it and it would have been okay. But in your minds, it was still the mindset of like, I can't miss anything, I can't do this or whatever. But if it were like a serious situation, you would have had to have done it. But that was like,
I guess
part of my frustration was like,
a tumor close to your brainstem is kind of serious.
But that was, I remember that being part of my frustration, you being like, well, come football season, it's like, all bets are off. Like, if my health's in jeopardy, doesn't matter. I'm coaching, can't miss a game, or can't miss a week of practice or whatever, So all that to say is I think it was God's grace that you got a like last minute call that there was a cancellation, and then you went into surgery.
It didn't even have like a pre-op. It was like just go into surgery, do it beforehand, and it wasn't. I didn't ever tell Carly that it ever weighed on my mind, but there was a chance the surgery was right by my facial nerve that I wouldn't be able to move a part of my face. A really big chance because they exposed the nerve, and there was a chance that it could have been cancer, and I was extremely upbeat around Carly, but in the back of my head I was like, holy cow, is this
what was an extremely serious
in my own thought life, I just thought, well, if it's cancer, I'll just like kick his ass and just keep going. Like, what's the
just
big deal?
Like classic Ben. Oh, it's cancer. Oh, please, it's not going to touch me.
Just radiate that thing. Let's
give
go.
me a break. Other people may die from it, but not me.
Stubborn, man.
Like you actually had control over it or something. Yeah. But I do remember, in some ways, I'm so thankful that God, I think, protected me being like, obviously, like a week postpartum. Your mom was in town, which was amazing,
huge.
from Colorado. When you got the call, so she was going to be here for the surgery, which we had no idea what that was actually going to entail. Like here again, like Ben's like,
I'm like, put me under,
it was
cut
an
it out.
outpatient. It was an outpatient experience, so we knew like he was gonna be going into Kaiser. I'd go pick him up as soon as like the anesthesia wore off, a couple hours later. And it was a 5-hour surgery, 5 to 6 hour surgery.
It was like 6 to 7 hours. It was
so
extremely
it was a
long
serious
surgery.
situation. I'm just really thankful that I just didn't have the mind space to really think too much about it and be too stressed. Like honestly, with a newborn. But I know that was God's protection, because I mean, how do you even handle that? Like it, and we were fairly confident that it was benign, and there was, the doctors were very confident, that too. But of course, there's just that worry, and being postpartum, like hormones are just like no freaking joke. So, so you went in for your surgery, and
the next
I'm
2
not
weeks
laughing,
were
but I'm not laughing, but I'm not kidding you.
I don't know what you're gonna say.
So, I don't know either, but I get a call from the doctor to like say, okay, you can come and pick him up, because he obviously can't drive. I dropped you off that morning. So I pick him up that night, and I bring Tate with me, who's, not even 2 weeks old, and my mother-in-law stays home with Truman at home, and I just felt better about taking Tate with me versus leaving him home, like in case like he needed to eat, or I don't know, whatever. That just felt safer to me. I had no idea what I was going to be walking into when I went to go pick up Ben. Like they just told me he's in recovery, he's awake now, like, that's basically it. So I go in with like with Tate in the stroller. I have him completely like covered, isolated, incubated, like going into recovery.
See, this is how crazy. I thought my mom picked me up. I don't even know. I didn't even know you picked. Did you pick me?
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
You never told me that.
I didn't know till now you picked me up.
Okay, so I go into recovery, and they take me to him, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I see him, and I'm like, oh my gosh. I mean, we're going to have to post a picture of what he looked like. First of all, he had like the big, like solar foil blanket over him that like runners have on them to keep them warm after they race. And his head was completely ace bandaged and wrapped with like gauze, and it was extremely severe. And he was very out of it. I was not expecting it, was not prepared for that. He was extremely out of it, and I was not prepared to see how just kind of like tore up you were. And so like his head's all wrapped, his neck's all wrapped, okay, like in gauze and an ace bandage. And I'm like, wow, hey, how you feeling? And he's like, yeah, who are you? And like, I remember taking pictures, and like we took a picture together because I'm like, this is just too good not to document. And you were completely numb on the whole side of your face. Like you couldn't see
my lip wouldn't work.
Which they told you like that was going to be the case for a while.
I couldn't feel my ear all the way down. I still can't feel my ear. Can't feel my earlobe really, as I touch now.
But like they told you, like probably like 4 to 6 to 8 weeks, you're going to be numb, have a crooked smile, and hopefully your nerves will regenerate after that. But if they don't, like that's the risk, basically, that they may not come back. Anyway, so it was very frightening. I took him home, and like I think most people know you, that like you're extremely resilient, you're extremely stubborn, you're extremely like annoying when it comes to like self-care in terms of like really taking care of yourself and taking it easy. So your surgery was on a Thursday, and I remember you thinking like, oh yeah, I'm planning to go to work on Friday, and I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? Like you looked like hell.
Yeah.
But remember the doctor saying like, okay, he's gonna have to sleep sitting up for 2 weeks, and I'm like, excuse me. So you had to sleep sitting up for 2 weeks because of the cut. So they cut you from the top of from the back of the top
Back
of
of
your
my ear,
earlobe,
yeah.
the top of your ear, all the way down to
almost my Adam's apple.
Yeah, where your Adam's apple is. And also weren't expecting that big of an incision.
No. He was like, "Don't worry, I'll put it right where like the fold of your neck is. No one will ever see it." And trust me, you can still see
optimistic. But he was wonderful, and he's like one of the best in all of Southern California. But yeah, it was kind of like, holy cow, we did not anticipate this recovery. So, okay, I want everybody to feel sorry for me for a couple minutes because
Please do.
Ben gets home. Obviously, feel sorry for him too. He is like incapable.
Useless. Do not help. Cannot help with the kid. Can't help with the newborn at all.
Completely useless.
I don't even sleep in the same room with the newborn and my wife. I'm sleeping on the couch sitting up.
because of the pillows. It was more upright for you. I'm laughing, but honestly, in my heart, I was like, F you. I'm like, you would freaking get a tumor and take this from me right now. It's just so
People
typical.
care about you right now, and they should be caring about me.
So typical. You're trying to steal my thunder. I just had a baby, and you go and have a freaking tumor. So typical. It's honestly how I felt some days. But I'm not kidding you, you guys. I had to freaking care for 3 children in my home. I am so thankful Ben's mom was here because, like, she basically took care of Truman, and I had to, like, take care of the newborn and my, like, completely debilitated husband. And it was, I mean, I think we both really anticipated you being able to bounce back, and that was kind of the expectation, and that's everything. You've always been able just to bounce back. But it was a really rough recovery. And, I mean, you were home for a solid...
I had to go back to work on Monday because I had a class.
Oh, right, you were teaching.
And I was proctoring something. I didn't have to teach. I was proctoring. So
wasn't it uncomfortable to, like, talk even and stuff like that?
Everything was miserable.
Yeah, it was miserable. So I was up feeding, changing diapers all by myself, like a single mother. Honestly.
Hey, guys, if you ever want to get out of helping with a newborn, just have surgery.
Oh, my gosh. Such a jerk.
That's when to cut off your toe or something. I was actually going to do a
shout out to all the single parents, but you just went ahead and made it even worse. But yeah, recovery was like a good full 2. I mean, you weren't able to go to practice or do any sort of running. How long was it before you were able to like actually do any sort of physical activity?
I'd gone to practice the next week, but yeah, I wasn't allowed to sweat.
Yeah,
or
do
like
any sort of physical activity.
Yeah, a while. It was a while.
It was several weeks, yeah. Which, of course, was like the worst thing for him. And he was like a total grouch because of it.
Such a grouch.
And like, you know, so like his life was so difficult as I'm still very much postpartum.
As Carly's still sitting on a pillow.
I'm like, oh, really? Did you push out a baby? Do you think your surgery was hard? You want to compare stitches?
Oh, baby.
Anyway, so that threw us into a loop. That was a total tangent.
Yeah, sorry.
That threw us into a loop, and was a big part of like, wow, like we just.
It was hard.
I think it just was a difficult piece to newborn life and adjusting to a family of 4, obviously, and it was April, right? That happened, or I guess March, because he was born out of March.
Yeah, so
right before Easter, I remember. Thankfully, the feeling in his face came back. His smile was no longer crooked, but he was concerned for a while that he was going to be Jack Pearson.
Yeah, I just kept watching This Is Us. I'm like, that's going to be me. That guy.
Which honestly, I was like, okay, as long as you act like Jack Pearson, no one cares if you're smile's
I'm gonna be Rocky Balboa or Jack Pearson, one of the two. So I came.
But didn't one of them actually have the same situation as you? Who was it that actually had
Well,
like
both
the
of them
product-
had neither of them had the surgery, but both of them had that nerve. It was this exact
the
same
same
thing.
nerve,
Yeah.
the tumor on the nerve. Okay.
Well, it wasn't a tumor. It was just
Oh.
that nerve. Yeah.
That nerve that went out.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. And that's where your tumor was on that
Yep.
nerve. Okay.
So I thought, well, this is it. Yeah.
This is it.
Adrian,
This is us.
This is me.
Adrian. Oh my gosh.
Which in the end is like, it is what it is, you know?
Yeah.
But I think when you're in the middle of it, you're like, I'm not able to smile. I can't feel my face. You know, it's not that.
Well, and I remember you panicking. Like the doctor said, like, okay, Ben, give it at least a month to 6 weeks.
I'm like, it's been a week. I
And
can't
like,
feel
in
this.
2
My
weeks, Ben's
body
like,
recovers.
Ben's like, I'm never going to be able to smile normal again. I'm so ugly. I look so stupid.
I don't know if I
like-
said ugly. I just think it just looked weird. Yeah.
You were very concerned about it. And I remember thinking, like, okay, honestly, this is not the biggest concern we have going on right now. Like, you are safe, your tumor's benign, and, you know, like, let's just try to get through these nights right now. As you're sitting up, having to sleep sitting up, which, gosh, how uncomfortable is that?
Yeah.
And anyways, so that was, I guess, that summer into fall, and it was that next beginning of the year that we had decided to do the Daniel fast.
The beginning of the next year.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. So, but I think even before that, going into football season is always hard.
Yeah.
Because then we have 5-month-old, and after that whole tangent, that's where we were. So, you know, sorry if you didn't want to hear about the tumor in a parotid gland. We came into it, and it was already hard because we had those situations, and then we're working together, and
Well, in camp, like, camp is, you know, 3 weeks of you being gone 7 days a week, till 10 o'clock most nights.
Yeah.
And like, I just want to like reiterate how much I love football and how much I love you being a coach, but camp is just tough. Camp is hard.
yeah.
It's hard on you, you know, as like a parent and a dad.
Yeah.
Parent and
It's
a dad.
it's a little it's a little easier for me because I think my personality, it just allows me to just lock into something.
Yeah.
So I almost
Well,
don't
you're
want
there
days
in
off.
the excitement. You
I
know?
almost don't want days off because I'm like, it doesn't allow. It makes me think of my real life.
Well, and
Like
remember
it is.
how much harder when you would have like half of a Sunday off.
Yeah,
How
going
much
back,
harder
you're
it
like,
was
"Ugh,
going
holy
back.
cow."
Remember how much harder that was for us. You would have, you know, a couple hours off in the morning on Sundays during camp, you know, after the first week. And that felt so much harder, you having that morning off and then having to leave. It was almost like I'd rather just have the whole day
Yeah.
gone. Like, just be gone the whole day because...
Carly's got her own routine without me.
Yeah,
I've
it
got
almost
my
felt
routine
like a
without-
tease,
Yeah.
and it was just really, it threw off the routine
And the
threw
kids, it
threw
was
into
hard for
loop.
them,
Yes, yeah, it kind of threw them into a, it was kind of chaos. But yeah, so camp is basically like 16-hour days for you for a couple weeks, and this is like football everywhere. This is not just
Yeah.
where you work. Like, this is just the norm, you know. So I'm not saying like, I'm not speaking against it in any way, but just kind of painting the picture for like the reality of what, you know, I have been doing as a wife for the past 9 years, as well as a parent now for the past 5 years. And it's just difficult. It's difficult, but at the same time, like, we love to find our ways of being involved, you know, as a wife and with the kids. But yeah, camp is always like, it's a lead up to, okay, you know, it's really, once we kind of get past the first week, then I feel like, okay, I can do this. Like, I'm in my routine, but it's always difficult getting back into that routine of, okay, I'm doing everything on my own. But then once you're in the rhythm, like, you get used to it. And I have to remember that every single year. Like, okay, it's going to be okay. I just have to get into the rhythm. And then, you know, we're usually good. But that was a particularly harder year with just having two for the first time. And yeah, what else were you going to say about that?
No, and then we just went into the year, and already having some of those feelings of man, we're worn dry. We have two kids, and like that's some battle scar or anything. But for us, it made it more realistic to say, if we're not rowing the boat in the same direction, completely in the same
Yeah.
direction, and with some understanding of each other, it makes it very alone feeling, and more I think for Carly than me. But I think we're going through most of the season, and just we started opening up to each other a little more, saying I think like there's got to be more in this marriage. There's got to be more in this family life. We're desperate for something else. And we ended last week talking about that, but we started becoming more and more desperate, saying there's, as married couple, as a family that loves the Lord, like there's more to this than what we're experiencing right now.
Well, and I think like backing up a little bit too, I think it's important to talk about how like why like in addition just to your time away from your family and stuff, like why it felt so difficult. Like we each year we got better, but not great at like really learning how to support each other during these like more difficult times. When these times come up, being away and stuff like that, like you couples have to kind of adapt on to how to support each other, and that looks different like for Ben when he's gone a lot, and that looks different for me as the wife and stuff. But we weren't good at that at the beginning. We really weren't good at that, so learning how to do that along the way, but still not being really great at it, it made those times almost even harder because we were continuing to learn how to just, I guess, how to support each other through it and not be like upset with each other, that like me not be upset with Ben that he was gone all the time, and Ben not be upset because he didn't feel like I supported everything he was doing. And but that like added so much more tension to the years, leading up to kind of these last couple years of just what stress can do in a relationship. Like stress just kind of would overtake us during football season, and like that was just difficult for us to know how to navigate, and for Ben to know how to um separate himself from his stress to like be present with his family. Something that's been really hard for him to learn how to do, and still like really learning how to do that. So I think that just was so much more like prevalent that year with Tate, that was like, okay, like we cannot do this again in terms of how this last year felt. We need to just get better somehow.
Yeah, and the season was good. I just think it just continued to amplify those feelings.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
as we were nearing the end of the season, we both kind of looked at each other and were like, look, whatever this is going to take, like we needed to take legitimate steps forward, whatever that looks like, whatever it means, instead of just grabbing a devotional that we're going to do together at night. Like there needs to be larger outward steps, and
But
that's
don't you think it was hard to like actually come to that not to that decision, but like the way you're saying it makes it sound like it was so easy to have that conversation. It was hard to have that conversation because it was admitting that, okay, I'm not doing things right, you're not doing things right, or we're not doing things the best way that we can. It takes effort to like make the right choices, and so it in some ways I remember it feeling like exhausting to be like, okay, like we have to put more effort into this, we got to figure something else out. I wish we didn't have to because I'm so tired and exhausted. But do you remember like feeling that, or that it just it wasn't as easy as like, okay, like what are we going to do different this next year?
yeah, no, that's definitely true, because it's hard to put effort forward for something when you're worn out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would agree, and it's hard admitting the fact that maybe there's more to life than what you've been living.
Yeah.
There's more to your marriage than what you've been experiencing, and it's just admitting that that's nobody's fault. I mean, partially it's both our faults, but it's not pointing the finger at anyone. It's just saying there's got to be more. There's got to be a little bit something more. And I think we came to the point of just being desperate and saying there has to be.
Yeah.
This just what has to happen to continue to revamp and change and revitalize and renew our lives.
And there was a lot of I remember feeling a lot of like hopelessness in that too. Like it almost had felt like, gosh, I feel like I've prayed for so long, or we've done, devotionals, or I don't know, like it felt like we had almost tapped out all of our resources to an extent, and it felt really kind of hopeless. Like there's got to be more, but I just at the same time, like, I don't know how to get that. I remember feeling like a little bit hopeless in that sense.
Yeah. So I think the only thing we knew how to do at that point is we had reached out to the pastor and his wife at our church.
But that was a really big step. That was a really big step, because that was something that we were not, we had kind of like turned away from doing since leaving our old church, because it kind of felt like I'm not going to rely on anybody anymore, or you had really kind of lost how to ask for guidance in your life. And that was a really big thing that I feel like are beginning to regain in your life, is asking for guidance and help in areas of your life. So it was kind of like, okay, I think the next step is like to maybe like seek guidance. We haven't really done that up until that point necessarily.
I think we'd sought guidance before, but not with an open heart, just saying whatever comes, let it come. Like whatever needs to happen, let's make it happen. Yeah. We're all in with
we were like
the
all
process.
In at that point. Yeah, exactly. Whatever it was going to take.
So we met with them individually and then personally in November of that year. So right as football was coming to an end, and they had recommended to us that we go to counseling together, and we're like, whatever.
Yeah, great.
Whatever it takes, we're going to do it. So we started doing that in November, and that was a big part of our healing and growth. Having someone outside the situation be able to speak into it and help you realize things that you don't see yourself. One of the biggest things for us moving forward and understanding each other is realizing the space that or the amount that trauma affects your personal interaction with each other. I think that's one of the biggest things we've learned, is that a lot of times when we're interacting with each other, it's not out of the current situation, but out of what we felt in the past. Yeah. And that's helped us so much have grace for each other.
Yeah.
Okay, Carly, you're mad right now. You're upset, which maybe in this certain situation, there's no reason for you to be upset. Like, let's just be grown-ups and get over it. That's how I would have thought in the past. Instead of saying, oh, I see how this connects to a way that you were treated in the past by what we went through. Oh, I get that. I can have more grace to understand
and
that.
It's helped us like actually work through those things.
Yeah.
Be like, okay,
it's not a personal attack anymore. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, which was our biggest way of, I guess, just dealing with things with was defense, like defending ourselves in any sort of conversation. We were so defensive.
Yeah.
In everything.
And then it becomes a one-upsmanship where I try to make her feel bad, she tries to make me feel bad. Who can make the person feel the worst, instead of being on the same team and saying, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
Let's really talk through this, and I get how this action that I took made you feel like I treated you for 5 years, or my tone of voice, and having some grace with that. And that's been a huge help for us to help categorize the fact that sometimes the way we relate to each other is based upon past experience and not based upon the current moment. Which seems simple, right? I mean,
so simple.
Oh yeah, that makes sense. But
oh really?
Relationally,
you're feeling the connection between this and 10 years ago. Yeah, weird.
But that's helped us so much to live through the current moment, because again, there's that mentality sometimes when you leave a situation that you say, oh, it's done, it's over.
Yeah,
that's fine, it's over, it's done. There's no scars. Whereas legitimately the thing is that no matter what trauma is, trauma leaves a scar.
Mm-hmm.
Whether it's being in war and seeing people killed, or seeing a friend shot next to you, or going through emotional abuse, whatever it is, there's trauma and there's scars in your life that leave indelible marks in the way that you interact with each other.
Yeah.
And that was such a big thing for us moving forward as we started to realize that. And it's relationally that's so huge, because that was our relationship, but that could be in any relationship you're in where maybe the way you're treating somebody is making them feel a certain way, like their father made them feel, or like their mother made them feel. And unless we come to a point of being able to work through those things ourselves,
Yeah, we're not going to stop treating people that way or acting that way. Yeah. That's been a huge part of our like just being in counseling, and what we've learned is how the trauma relates to our present actions.
Yeah. And then how to just relate to one another. And, I know we just seem like the ideal couple, so you're welcome. But it's...
Oh my gosh. So embarrassing.
So if anyone would like to have dinner and hear the secrets of the trade of marriage,
gosh.
I'm just kidding. No. We've got our struggles, obviously. You've heard them. But that's when we started. After that football season, we were so desperate and said we'll do anything, and then having outside influences speaking into our life and
that was like a
people.
year and a half ago.
Yeah, a year and a half ago. Yeah.
Not this past November.
Yep, a year and a half ago. So from that point, we've just been working and moving and stepping forward. And by the time that spring came along, I think the healing in our own lives and in our marriage began to see potentially some other changes vocationally, and that's when we decided to do the Daniel fast, right?
Yeah, that was in February. It was February of the next year.
Yeah.
So just a couple months after going to counseling, and we decided to do the Daniel fast, which is basically eating vegetables, like no dairy, no meat, no. Yeah, it's just like basically vegetables, but it's like legumes. You can have corn, so you could have like corn tortillas, and it wasn't like, you don't starve on it. It's like definitely not. But you definitely make like a conscious effort of certain things, because you can't have like vinegar because it's like fermented, and that was, considered not part of it. So, salad dressings were like out and that sort of thing. But we did it together because we really wanted to. We were, again, just like really desperate for some direction in our life. Like what we were very used to. Well, I guess I guess I was used to Ben just putting his head down and doing the same thing. Like Ben could be in the same job every single day for like the rest of his life. Even if he hated it, he wouldn't leave. Like, I think that's obvious. He just is very loyal in that sense. And so I was used to not questioning, like, what are our dreams? Like, what are our, like, what do we want to do? And like, those sorts of conversations never really happened, because you were just much more so, just, I don't know. Maybe it was just kind of hard for you to dream going from a job that you were so involved in that you got $0 from, to a job that you were so involved in that but you were now getting paid for. But I think you just kind of like lost your dreams along the way. But you were also doing what you loved to do.
And I think that was part of it too. Is I felt like my dreams were coming true.
Absolutely,
in certain
yes, absolutely.
Being able to coach college football.
But like, we've never like really. I think there's some couples that are like such dreamers and they aspire to all these things, and that wasn't just us so much, because we didn't really have the capability of doing that. But it was not like us to ever have a conversation of like, okay, are you feeling good about your job? Like, do you feel like this is the place you should be? You know, it was still kind of like, yeah, this is where we see ourselves, but not too much conversation about it. But we were, we were happy with where we were, again, because it was such a lifesaver to us. And, but we did the fast because we just needed some more answers of like, we just were desperate, I think, for just more change in our life. And we didn't get um, the,
Immediate results.
yeah.
No, we got gas. The Daniel Fast sucks. Honestly, all you vegetarians, I don't want to be around you. Okay? Just eat something besides vegetables. It hurts your stomach.
Oh my gosh. We were, yeah, like we had stomach aches for at least 2 weeks of it.
My
At least
body
I did.
needs meat. My
Ben,
body
oh my gosh,
needs
here we go.
meat.
Here we
Okay?
go. Mr. Protein in every meal. No, I think it showed you that you didn't need it and you were able to like have lentils and that sort of
And
thing.
be miserable.
Well, I think it just was a lot of, yes, like very gas inducing foods. So yes, we did not feel fantastic on it, but I think that's part of a fast too, you know? But yeah, we also didn't get like immediate spiritual like revelations, which I was really hoping to because it was a pretty serious commitment to commit to it together, just given our like busy lifestyles. And we hadn't done something like that severe together as far as like a fast. So I remember feeling a little disappointed that there wasn't any like immediate like word from the Lord afterwards. But where did that like take us?
I don't think we realized until a few months ago that
Right.
it started to open our eyes to maybe something different vocationally.
Yeah.
I mean, in a different area, same vocation, but just
Yeah.
in a different area, and something we'd never considered or thought through. And
Yeah.
that's when we started having those conversations. So yeah, I think that started that process for us.
And yeah, again, like Ben said, it took a long time. It was longer than just a couple months ago we realized that, but it was probably like I think 6 months later that we were like, okay, I think like that fast is like what the Lord like allowed to like really trigger us into seeing, like kind of opening our eyes to potentially like us leaving where Ben was currently coaching and seeing if there's something else out there. Like you desire to be a head coach. That was like that desire became a desire of yours. Like it wasn't always in you. You didn't think it was in you, but it became like a desire of yours. And I think that fast really was kind of like the start of really opening those doors to us really seeing like, okay, because I mean, as much as where we were was so different than our old church, I mean, obviously, like there still was a lot of similarities in the sense that Ben is very loyal and I probably would have been ready for like the next thing a lot sooner than he ever would have been. I think that's like kind of the funny thing in our relationship sometimes. It's almost like I'm ready for like what God has next for us like way before he is and I kind of have to be the one to push him along in some ways to kind of see that. Why do you think that is? Like do you think it's like fear on your part or
I don't know. I think it's partially why you get married, where you have someone to help you out, and I think part of it is, I have a weird way of just being content. Maybe not content, or just finding somehow like the good in a certain situation that I'm in, and then just thinking, well, I found this one good, so it must be perfect. This must be it, and then just being able to work, like just like you said, put my head down and work. I've just always been able to do that, you know. When I was playing football, working out and everything else, it's just what comes naturally to me. So it's easier for me. That takes less mental capacity for me to do than think about something different, I guess.
Yeah. But so that was in February that we did that fast. That football season, it was very different. Like we had, well, I guess back up before that. So that spring after February was the first time we really had the conversation of, like, I remember you saying, like, maybe there potentially is another job out there besides what I'm currently doing. And I remember being, what? Like, wow. Like, I couldn't believe you had arrived to that place. And not that I was, like, waiting for you to get there, like I was waiting for you to leave our old church. But it felt exciting that you felt that maybe that was, like, it was time to maybe, like, move on and find something that was going to be best for you in terms of your skills and being a head coach. And but it was also, like, really scary because it was something we had never really talked about before until that spring, of it being something that you would want to do. And what did that look like, and leaving something so familiar and that's been an amazing place for us, and a lifesaver and all of those things. But remember having that conversation, that like really kind of going through that process while going to counseling was so, like, critical. I remember, just in the sense of we were able to process things, like, with someone else in terms of, like, okay, this is what we're thinking and what we're feeling. And because it was kind of scary at the same time, but that football season felt like really different for you.
Yeah, it did.
Yeah.
I agree.
There's nothing else you want to say about
no,
that?
I completely...
Like, you were, like, way more unsettled. Like, it really was time.
I think it was almost like... I don't want to say it was like when we were leaving the church, because it's a completely different situation. Yeah. But it was, like I was uncomfortable for the first time.
Yeah.
Which is how God deals with me personally.
Yeah.
When it's time for me to change, He makes something uncomfortable, because it's easy for me to find comfort in things. So,
yeah, that's so true.
That's what He did. But that spring before football season is when Carly had mentioned me particularly. Maybe we should do a podcast about our story.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that part.
Yeah, and I was not about it at first.
Yeah, you were like, a podcast?
I don't know what that is. Come on.
Yeah, like,
no one wants to hear this story.
Podcast?
This is ridiculous.
And I don't even know how it came about. I think I was listening to somebody that I knew who was doing a podcast, and I felt like, oh, this could be, like, really fun in terms of, we have a good story to tell, and we've gone through a lot. Like, maybe it would be fun to just, try. And yeah, I did. It just started as, like, an idea and something that was, like, that I had brought up, and you were like, I don't know about that. But then, of course, Ben immediately next day, like, does his own research and is like, figure out, like, the best.
No, because that was in the spring, and then...
Well, eventually.
Eventually, I thought, you know what? We were having, I wouldn't say a good time, but through our conversations, we were being able to rehash and relive the past in a totally different light, without being angry and bitter about it, but starting to work through it and being able to see some of the humor in it, even though, it was...
But I don't think we could have done it any sooner than we did. We really couldn't have. After
she mentioned that to me, then for our anniversary, I got her a microphone and said, okay, I'll do that with you. Let's do it. And I think it kind of surprised her, because she's like, you went from, like, 0 to 60.
Yeah, this would be fun. Here's a really nice microphone and headphones. So I was like, oh, wow, okay, we're, like, really doing this. Yeah, and we recorded our first episode when we were in Temecula away. Your mom came and watched the kids for a few nights. We went to Temecula in last July. And we recorded our first episode, and it was so fun. And I think we really didn't have any expectation for what it would be. I think we really just wanted to do it for us in some ways, but also to share our story and give, kind of like what we say in our intro, like, to give people some hope that have gone through, like, maybe some difficult things, that really feel hopeless in their life and in their marriage, and I think through telling our story, it's really allowed us to, it's been very therapeutic for us.
Yeah, it's been very therapeutic. It's been fun to rehash the story together. I think we're able to live the story together for the first time
Yeah.
instead
Yeah.
of separately.
Mm-hmm.
Like I had my story and she had her story, and all of a sudden we get to understand a little bit more what we were thinking in the story
Yeah.
instead of clashing with each other, I
Yeah.
guess.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we were, and I think we've said this before, but we were able to be what each other needed in that time that we've never been able to be before. So going back to the beginning, like Ben was able to be a support to me, going through those like really tough moments back then that he couldn't be at that time, but like can be now. So, and vice versa. So that felt like such a gift to be able to do this, and the sense of just, yeah, I don't think that was I don't think I initially thought that that would happen, or that that would be something we gained from it, but I'm really thankful that that has been the case.
So, what in us doing this podcast? I think you answered this, but I'm going to ask you a couple questions to see if there's anything more.
Oh, okay. Very caught off guard.
I'm the questioner. um, and you've mentioned this, but why did you want to do the podcast? What have been your feelings since we started it? Yeah, those two. Why did you want to start it, and then what have been your feelings since we started it, and maybe some new things that have come up?
I think like the reason for wanting to start it was it it kind of felt like we were sitting on this like really big, interesting, and completely crazy story that even if nobody listened, or even just a small handful of people listened, or just our family listened, I think I wanted it to I wanted it to be able to like reach people or touch people that maybe have had a similar situation, because I think through the years we've just found how similar our situation is with what other people have gone through. And in the beginning, I definitely felt so alone that what we had gone through was we were the only ones, and no one could understand or compare or relate. So I think wanting to give people that had maybe gone through something similar, just the feeling of like you're not alone, like this, like, yeah, you're not alone basically. But at the same time, also wanting it to do something within our relationship. And I think it gave us something to do together,
Yeah.
like we don't have, I mean, our lives are really busy. So this was something that we were able to pour in together that was really fun, that was like outside of our own children, and was kind of became like a hobby. And I think like as people were interested, it became more fun to do. And yeah, but I think it was, I don't want to say that I know that there's so many probably things we don't even know yet, as to why God brought us through what we went through. But I also don't want to just sit on what we've gone through when there's a possibility that could help somebody, or that sharing what we've gone through can bring more help to us in some way. Or I don't know, I think I just wanted to, I think initially it was just like it would be fun to do and tell our story, and maybe bring some more healing to us, because we were in a place where we were kind of like really, really receiving more healing with counseling. So I think that those were like my initial thoughts, were just wanting to make other people feel like they weren't alone, who had gone through something similar, to like bring some hope, and then at the same time, kind of like exercise a something within us that was fun and enjoyable.
Yeah. Any hesitations or fears before we started or since we've started?
I think like initial fears were like the obvious ones, just like, really? Like, wow. I think just thinking that.
Really? Wow. Explain that a little more.
I mean, does that really need an explanation? I mean, like what you decided to do, like to go through, like you decided to go to that church and you
Oh,
kind
I
of
see.
like that
Yeah.
sort of thing. Like, wow, like you, like I feel
You're
like I'm
dumb.
like I wasn't like an outcast kid in junior high and high
Yeah,
school.
that
Like
was
I
just
had a lot
looking
of
for
friends. I
love
was
somehow. Yeah.
fairly popular and
Very
good at
popular. Not
things.
fairly.
And
She's very popular. Okay.
no, I mean I was at a small Christian school, so everyone's popular.
The most
you know?
popular ever.
Oh my gosh, stop. No, but I mean, like we had a great group of friends, and I was good at sports
Good
and
family.
good
Yeah.
family. So like, it didn't make sense for me to fall into something like this. So I think that was kind of maybe the hesitation of like, how does that happen to somebody who is like fairly normal? Like you hear of these things happening to people that like are disturbed or like are so searching for that are so obviously searching for something more. And maybe that is true to an extent in both of us. I mean, I think it is true to an extent, but I think that was kind of a hesitation, maybe people looking at me differently. But I think at that point, at the same time, I just didn't really care. It was like, well, whatever, like this has happened and I'd rather people know and maybe learn from it or whatever. I don't know. I think the only like initial hesitations was like this could be a little embarrassing. But let's be honest, way more embarrassing for you than it was for me. I'm just kidding. I'm only saying
No,
that
it's
because
true.
that's
It's
something
very
you
true.
say all the time.
Yeah,
As
it's
like you're so embarrassed
completely
about
true.
it. But
Way more embarrassing for me.
I didn't have as many hesitations, I feel like, as you had.
Yeah. Okay, those are my only questions. for
Oh,
you.
okay. Well, what were those things for you? Like what did you desire from it or
I don't know if I desired anything. I think for me, it just sounded fun to be able to tell our story and spend time together and do it. I personally, I didn't think beyond that. I
Yeah.
just thought this could be fun because I think in a group setting, we've told our story together a couple times, and people look at us like, "What in the world?"
Yeah, like oh my
And I thought
gosh.
this could be kind of fun. I like telling stories. I thought it would be fun to do together and could be an interesting story. So yeah, that I think for me that was completely why it started. I wish it was more altruistic and was hoping to help people or whatever, but I just thought, we're going through so many things together. Let's do this together too and
Well, and I
enjoy
think
it.
maybe I felt like this could potentially help some people because I was just more vocal in I mean, I didn't it's not like I talked about it with a lot of people, but most of my friends, my close friends knew about it more so than like your close friends and
Yeah.
coworkers. So, and maybe that's just it is a personality thing, but maybe that's why I felt like maybe this could potentially help some people or I think just once we realize that like pain is so universal, that you don't have to go through like a church abuse to like experience pain and that affect your relationship.
Yeah.
So I think just that piece right there, pain being so universal, like anybody can learn from someone else's experiences related to pain in a relationship, regardless of if you've gone through something similar to them or not. Like it's just so universal. So I think I like kind of had that mindset in the sense of this could potentially touch anybody who has gone through something that feels like hopeless to any extent. And hopefully it has.
Yeah, hopefully.
I mean, I know it
Yeah,
has
I
for
would-
some people, but I hope that, even more as time goes by that it can bring that hope to people.
Yeah, and I think as we started, at least my desire as we continue to go along, and sometimes we have the discussion is, are we still showing the redemption of God and everything, and to show that, not that everything's perfect, because no one, it's not going to be perfect. I wish it could be, but it'll be perfect when we get to heaven and we'll understand everything. But just the fact that somehow, in some way, God held us together and held our own personal lives together and somehow had his hand on us even when I think I personally made some decisions for the family that weren't necessarily what he would have wanted, but he still guided us and loved us and somehow has kept us together when the odds were stacked against us in a lot of ways. And there's been a lot of people. There's a lot of people the odds are stacked against you. Stacked against your marriage, you know? How many people out there are married and maybe you had a kid before you were married and the odds are stacked against you. But the fact is that God had his hand upon it. And so I think as time went on, I thought a little bit about that. What was the other question? Fears or something?
Yeah, what was your fear going into it? Because you had way more of those than I did.
Way more. Yeah, I mean, it's embarrassing. I don't think there's anything else to say, but it's embarrassing. I legitimately, sometimes just worry this is actually going to get me just ostracized from life and I'll never get a job again. Because people will listen to this and be like, why would I ever want someone like that to work for me? Is it a legitimate fear? I don't know if it's legitimate, but it's a fear completely in my heart.
You'll never leave the company. Why would they not hire you? You're as loyal as they come.
Really, that guy?
Oh my gosh, this guy, this is who we want. We could take advantage of him to the end, and he will still be with us.
So I don't. Anyway, that's true. Sadly.
It all just depends on how you look at it.
That's sadly true. I would say that's when, by the time we actually started releasing it, I was like, oh crap. This makes me look like a total POS. So, I think I tell Carly this a lot. This story's so
you
good
say
for
POS.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
A piece of SHIT.
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
The story's way better for Carly because she's like the strong, resilient, just amazing woman victim that just somehow made it through. And it's like, for me, it's like, no, I'm the guy that did it. So cool. So yeah, that's really hard. That's extremely hard. So you're welcome for my vulnerability.
Do you still feel that each week?
Yeah, for sure. There's a part of me that feels that way. Like I don't want anybody to know that this was my life and these are the decisions I made and I let someone treat me like this. Yeah, that's embarrassing.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing as a man who's strong and resilient and tough and would never back down from a fight. I allowed this to happen to my family.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's really hard.
Yeah, makes sense.
And embarrassing, and so, yep.
Yeah, makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thank you, couple guys out there who've told me you appreciate me. You guys are awesome.
Thanks, two of you.
The two of the people I know that have actually listened to this.
One of them being from our old church. But I think just to kind of land the plane, so to speak, I think just reiterating what we had kind of talked about several episodes before, just in terms of what we've gone through and where was God in it and why did he allow it and stuff. And just, I don't think that it was God's initial desire for us to go through this in our marriage. But I think that, just reiterating that he was there with us through the whole thing. And while it wasn't his desire for me to feel the sadness that I felt and for Ben to feel the despair that he felt, he was with us. He was there and he saw us and he saw us through that. And his heart broke for us. And I think just focusing on that has really helped me heal. Not just heal, but really, I guess, just my image of God has been able to, I guess it's easy to think the easy, I guess, Christianese is God, all things happen for a reason, and God works all situations to good. And we've talked about this before and how I hate that verse and in context to this sort of thing. And I think it can be really easy to be mad at God for allowing things to happen, but I think in order to keep myself from being angry at the Lord is to remember that like he saw us through all of these things, and his heart broke when our hearts broke, and he was sad when we were sad, but he was there with us, and he didn't like he didn't love what was happening, and could he have changed it? Of course, but that's where free will comes in, and I think I just felt like I needed to reiterate the fact that yes, he does use situations to better us and to bring upon a future that maybe we can't imagine, but during those times, he was there. He saw us. He was with us through those hard times, and it wasn't a just a God's going to use this to better things, or because that's just not always comforting. It's not always encouraging to people. But I think just instead of having that mindset, it's having the mindset of just that God sees you through your pain. It's okay to feel the pain, but he sees you through it, and he's there with you in that. So I just wanted to, I guess, just reiterate that again.
Yeah, that's good. I appreciate that. I think that's true. Yeah. For me, one of the big, I feel like a year ago when we started doing this and through counseling and everything else, is that there's a verse in Nehemiah that really stuck out to me that talked about everything that God. Sorry, Carly's laughing because I have a tattoo on my ribs. I just
slapped my ribs with, like Khal Drogo style.
That's not the verse I was talking about, but
wasn't?
No. There's a different verse that talks about that there's people living in the lands that God has marked out for us because of the sin, and I know sometimes that's it can be taken very harshly, like you have sin in your life, so you don't have God's best. But for me, it's been really clarifying for this next phase of our life, where saying, am I allowing the sin that other people have imposed on my life, or the sin of bitterness, or the sin of anger, to stop me from living in all that God has handed to me, or handed to my family? And that's been a big encouragement to me, that God has so much more, and he's planned so much more for our lives, and he has these amazing and incredible things lined up for us. But are we allowing the hurt of the past, or the trauma of the past, or the issues of the past, or our current sin to stop us from living in that beautiful future that he has? So that's been an encouragement to me as in the past couple of years. Yeah.
Yeah. That was beautiful.
Thank you.
Very beautiful.
Thanks, Carly.
No, it was really just beautiful. Well, I guess that kind of sums up this episode, and on to Final Four.
Final Four.
Final Four.
Welcome to our Final Four. Unless we decide to have some sort of encore episode in the future, or have some enlightening moments that we just are desperate to share.
If you clamor for it, we'll do it.
Oh my goodness. So Final Four this week are the 4 biggest things we've learned in marriage. Is that correct?
Yeah, I mean, along those lines. Yeah. I don't know if it'll just be 4, but some marriage tips.
Yeah, that we've learned, that we've experienced, that have been great for us. Yeah.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's about it.
This is what the whole podcast is about. So if you just listen to this few minutes, then you got it all.
Right. All right, go ahead, Ben.
Okay, first thing would be, and we've mentioned this before, but it's very important to us, is being on the same team. So that means that our hurts, our joys, our pains, we experience together, and as we move forward, it's together. It's not me wanting something and she wanting something else. Now, there's compromise and everything, but we've learned, obviously, through some of the bad experiences that we both have to have a say in what we're going forward to do. And a lot of that has to do with just not competing with each other's
Right.
feelings or each other's hurt. And, well, it's been harder for me, and it hurts more for me, and upping each other when it comes to how we feel or our pain.
Because that's basically like being on your own team
Yes.
by acting that way or feeling that way. And I know I've experienced that a lot and still sometimes do. It's a like, sometimes you have to really make that conscious effort to be a team player. And that was something that was not taught to us, obviously, right out of the gates of marriage, and is really hard on this end to incorporate that into our normal lives, where maybe it's a more natural thing for a couple that hasn't gone through some serious trauma, but just such an important piece of. I feel like that's like always the marital advice I give to like newlyweds when they're like at a bridal shower and they're like, write your best advice for the new soon-to-be bride. That's always mine.
Yeah.
You're on the same team.
Yep.
So fight for that versus against each other.
Yeah. And a lot of that has to do with just expressing maybe some of the areas you feel like you're not on the same team, and just discussion with that. That's okay. That's okay. We're not always going to make decisions that we both agree with completely right away, but
Yeah.
part of being on a team and in a marriage is that you discuss it, you work through it, and you learn what's going to be best for you as a family.
Yeah. Great one.
Yes. Second one I'll let you expand upon.
Okay, so the second one is what I've learned is that in the different seasons that you go through in your marriage, you may need different things from your spouse than you needed in a previous season. And I didn't really know what that looked like until we had our second child. And I realized like everything that Ben was doing was like not helpful. It wasn't helping me in ways that it had in the past. And it kind of like, it made me realize, okay, like there's different things that I need in this season from him that I haven't needed before, and look different than they ever have, and the importance of being able to vocalize that to your spouse. I'm thankful I was able to like realize that instead of just being like mad and annoyed at him for the next years. But when I realized, wow, like I need different things from him than I ever have before, it like made so much more sense to me, and it was able to like calm the parts of me that felt anxious or angry or like I like just wasn't being responded to or whatever it was. And then being able to share that with him, and in turn makes him feel like he's also being more productive and more helpful as a spouse. So it's just everybody wins. It's hard. It can be hard to like adjust to that like new norm in a sense, because if you're used to doing something one way for a long time and that's always worked, and then you've got to switch it up, it's it can take some time to adjust to that. But I think knowing that there's different seasons in marriage that you need different things from each other, and I think there's seasons too where like one spouse will need to give to the other maybe more than vice versa, depending on what's going on with them. So but that was a huge one for us, like kind of realizing that there's different things that, like I needed his support in different ways than I ever had before, and vocalizing that was like a game changer to be able to kind of give him like the map to helping. Let me help you help me, basically.
That was it was a huge piece for us, I think, throughout our entire marriage, and especially in the past few years, if we've learned to communicate better, is that there's this myth out there, I guess, that you're supposed to know your spouse so much that you'll be able to just anticipate what they need before they ever need it, which some of that is true. I would hope that's part of it, but some of it is no matter how long you've been with someone, if things change, maybe you need something different, and it's okay to tell them directly what you need.
Yeah.
And for me especially, that's been huge, is that Carly's like, well, I just need more support. I'm like, okay, tell me exactly what you like. It's not going to seem, I want you to be happy. I want you to feel supported. So just tell me exactly what you need, and I'm great at following directions. So just give me the map, give me the directions, tell me exactly what to do, and I'll do it. And that's been really helpful because, for instance, getting out of the house with 2 kids is very stressful to her. Mm-hmm. So part of what we've learned is I just need to say, okay, what do you want me to do? Direct me and I'll do it. Instead of her just expecting, well, you should know that this needs to go in the car. And yeah, maybe I need to learn that. But at the same time, it takes the pressure off to say, just tell me what to do, Carly. And then I do it.
You're the boss. Tell me what to do.
Yeah, and
those are the exact words.
and then we both feel better about it.
Yeah. No, and that's been something that's been so difficult for me to learn to do because
she thinks I should be a mind reader.
Yeah, well, I think that's part of how I feel cared for is people anticipating what I need because I think that's something that I'm naturally good at. So I feel cared for in return that way when someone can anticipate my needs and it makes you feel known, it makes you feel cared for, all of these things. And so, and I think that that's okay to like need that or want that sometimes and a spouse can be that and they can learn to be that. But at the same time, it can't always be that way. And I think that in the past, and still sometimes, it's hard I put a lot of expectation on Ben to know what to do exactly to make the morning go smooth or the day go smooth when we have a plan or something like that. And, I'm the type of person that like in my mind and in reality, like I know I can just do everything better. So I'd rather just like, take the reins and do it. But then I'm mad that I don't have the help. Like he doesn't give me the help that I like want as well, even though I can do it better. It's a very sick cycle.
Yes. Twisted.
But
Twisted human.
But back to just to what he was saying, it has been so helpful for me to like let go of the fact that he doesn't know exactly what it is that I want or need from him in this moment. And I just need to tell him and like direct him like, hey, it's helpful for me if I get up and work out early that you make the bed and get the kids breakfast. And you've done it like for weeks and it's been so helpful. And it was as simple as me just being specific and asking him to do those things.
Yeah.
And vice versa, the ways that are helpful for you.
Yeah. Or an example would be we're leaving out of the house. I think this happened months and months ago, maybe years ago, I don't know. And I'm doing the dishes. And I'm cleaning up the dishes because I feel like I'm trying to be helpful to her.
And we're like getting ready to go to the beach.
But for her, it'd be way more helpful that I do the dishes later and instead get the sand toys ready and put them in the car.
Okay,
but in my mind, I'm like, well, you wanted me to do the dishes, so I don't know what in the H you want.
Yeah, we're trying to leave to go to the beach, and I am like just frantic because I'm having to load the entire car with the wagon.
But I'm doing something that I think is helpful.
But he's doing something he thinks is helpful, which is not helpful at all in the moment. And that's something that was that we learned that in counseling that kind of helped us work through the fact that, okay, what I need in the moment is like what is it? It's something that's tangible that can be helpful that's going to help us meet our goal of what we're doing.
Yeah.
So the goal is to like get out of the house to go to the beach. So you helping do the dishes was not helping us get to that goal to go to the beach. But that was so that was really helpful to like figure that out. So then I knew how to ask you to help me better, and you know how to help me better.
Because in my mind, I was thinking, if I do the dishes now, when we get home from the beach, the house is clean, and we feel better about the house. And it makes sense, but it just wasn't helping her at that point. So I think it's getting over your own pride, just saying, well, what do you really need?
Yeah, what's helpful for us to like get to the goal of getting to the beach.
Yeah, and then feeling like it's okay to tell people what you need, and it doesn't mean you have a bad marriage.
Yeah.
You know, it doesn't mean that person doesn't understand you.
Or they don't know you, or...
It's just sometimes you need something specific, and it's okay to say what specifically you need.
And then if there's still time left over before we leave to go to the beach, then feel free to do the dishes. But yes, that's been a helpful tool for us, especially.
Yeah. Next one, and we won't even elaborate on this because it's self-explanatory. Just keep God in the center of your life. It's been if it wasn't for God, we would have been done a long time ago with each other.
Yeah.
And I think it's the commitment to Him and the commitment that I feel like we understood the commitment of marriage, and that's
and
kept
we were
us,
both seeking the Lord together,
you know?
which is a huge part of what keeps people together.
Yeah, and figure out what that looks like for your family, because we don't do it perfectly, and sometimes we don't do it at all together. But you know, it's just learning how to share with each other and keep that being important. Yeah. Another one is just have grace. That's been a big deal for us because, especially if you've gone through some hard situations together, the easy thing is to try to, almost goes along with the first thing we said, is to one-up each other and make the other person feel bad about the situation so that they can hurt so you can feel better about yourself. And we've just, it's been a big deal for us to learn to give each other grace and to focus on the positive, and to know that when we're away from each other, you want to think more positively than negatively. So you give each other the benefit of the doubt, and that's part of grace, is that she might have said this or I might have said that, but the bottom line is we know our hearts, and I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt. I'm not going to spin the story the way I want to spin it in my mind. I'm going to give you the benefit of the doubt.
And still be able to talk through what I said and how that made you feel or whatever, and then me not feel like I have to get defensive about it too. Yeah. That's one of our hardest things that we've worked through, but we've gotten so much better at it.
We're very defensive of ourselves.
Yes.
And everyone
we've had
is.
to be. Well, but we've also had to be. That was the whole first half of our marriage, was us having to defend ourselves to the other person for pure survival, so those tactics are hard to break.
They really are. And it's been a huge deal for us to be able to do that. Yeah. And to just seek the good. Yeah. I guess that's as simple as this. Just seek the good. No, that's not what we meant.
Yeah.
It was just I'm misunderstanding. So take a deep breath. Chill out. Laughter and humor is always a big thing for us. I think if you can laugh together, it's great. Joke about things together, and then having things to do together has always been so good for us, whether it's our date night on the porch or during the wintertime when it was crazy with football for me, we would go on a run together to go see the Christmas lights. And
they didn't have to be things that were like that were consistent over a long period of time.
Yeah, just for that season.
Yeah, like for certain time we did our patio dates, every Thursday night, and certain time over Christmas towards the end of football, like we would go on a run once or twice a week when it was dark with the kids to go look at Christmas lights, in the neighborhoods.
And it was always something to look forward to.
Yeah. And then it ended because we were in a new season, or like there was a shift or whatever. But it was something that, like, little things that we would consistently do to kind of help, I think, the monotonous part of those seasons that felt just like, okay, we're doing this again, let's make it, I guess, enjoyable as a family or as a couple. Then the certain times of the year that we're able to consistently get a date night, we would do that, go out. But yeah, that's a huge thing, whatever that can look like, as casual or as intentional as you want to make it, but having those different things throughout the year has been like really good for us. And it like logs into the memory bank, which obviously I'm all about.
Carly loves the memory bank. That's the biggest bank in her life.
It is. I love making memories. And I think something else too that's been helpful for us, and is this our last one?
Yeah.
Okay. Is
The only thing these are the only things we know about marriage.
yeah, this is it. Everything else we're just no. This is what we call chalk talks.
Yeah, chalk talk.
Chalk talks. Ben says that's a football term. No, this was something that our counselor also encouraged us to do, which has been really helpful, is however often you want to make them, either once a month. I think for a time we were doing them once a month, or
we were doing once a week for a while, and then we went to once a month. Yeah.
and this is a unemotional, like, family meeting with just the two of us, obviously not the boys, but it's an
because they're overly emotional.
It's an unemotional, like, meeting to basically go through the calendar. I got like a calendar that has days of the week and months of the year on it, where I can write down the things we have going on throughout the week for that month. And sometimes we've gone a couple months ahead and written everything down. For me, it's really good to have things in writing, so I can also expectations. I think we all know about me at this point that I need to know what to expect. And that's been really good for us, just for it to be like an unemotional family meeting. That's what
it's been awesome.
It's been called. Yeah, just to write stuff down. Okay, here, like, I'm going to be late this night because of a family's coming to campus, or, this Saturday I have a camp, or, whatever it is. I'm doing someone's hair this night. So that way there's not I feel like there's enough surprises in our life just with being parents, and, things come up in our job. If we can nail down what we can, and I can expect to know that, okay, Ben's going to be gone these weekends, he's going to be late these nights, I can better plan just our weeks or our days or whatever, as a parent and as a spouse. So that's been helpful for us, just to have that stuff written down. And obviously Ben's going to have more things on the calendar than I do. It's kind of just the nature of his job, but it also allows him to see, like, the things that I have going on, and what, it allows us to be able to see, okay, here's a night that I can go out with my girlfriends or have dinner with a friend. And it just kind of allows us to see each other, like, equally in those times for planning ahead.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend doing that if you have the opportunity or the job that kind of allows for those types of things, because it does just really cut out a lot of stress for us, because the scheduling piece of our life can be a little bit more of a stressful conversation, just because we're just so freaking busy. It's so annoying. But that piece has been helpful.
Yeah, and I'll add my 2 cents. I think it's been very good for me because it does stress me out. Like, in my normal state, I would just wait till the last second to be like, this night I'm going to be late. Because I know Carly's going to be upset about it. But when we plan it out, she's not upset about it because
I'm upset
it's
about
planned.
it because you wait to tell me the night before.
Exactly, but it's like I think in my mind, I don't want to tell her. But when we plan it out, then it's like, even if it's 3 nights in a week, sometimes those are just the seasons. That's just what happens.
Well, and I'm used to that. I just
and
don't
it's not a big deal at all.
I don't have to be. Yeah.
And I think it's helped us a lot in those conversations to say, if I was going to be gone 3 nights in a week, or in my past job when I'd be recruiting for 3 nights in a week, my tendency would be like, well, that's just the job. But it helped us a lot.
Everybody does that. Everybody has to do this.
Yeah. It's helped us a lot for me to say, I wish I could be there with you too. and I'm sorry that I'm gone.
Yeah. I'm going to miss
And
you guys.
yeah, I'm gonna miss you
yeah.
guys. I wish I could be there, this is hard for me too, and it makes a huge difference in the response.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of again feeling like, well, just figure it out. It's
Which was a part of your old, don't you think it wasn't just like a, we'll figure it out, like your tough kind of response. It also kind of relates back to
yeah,
not giving me any sort of sympathy for the fear of me taking too
Yeah.
much of that
Running
and
with
then
it,
running with it and then like not being able to like collect myself, which
Yeah.
has never been the case with me.
no, never.
But yeah, I think it's interesting how that like translates in so many different ways.
Yeah.
And when we were able to like determine, kind of just figure
Yeah.
out like if
This is unemotional. In a month
Yeah,
in
and-
advance,
and
I'm going to be
you-
gone these 3 nights, these
yeah,
4 nights, these
you
5 nights, whatever it
responding in a
is. It's
way
like,
that like, yeah, I miss you guys. Like, I'm sorry, I'm gone 3 nights. Like, I'm gonna really miss you guys. I'm sorry. Like, work is busy versus. Yeah,
It
like
could
the
be
old
worse.
response.
Or it
yeah,
could
or
be
it could
worse.
be worse,
Yeah.
Carly. Like people have it worse. Which in like tell me in what way that is helpful. It's not helpful in any way for anybody. Like that's not helpful for anybody. So I feel like that's been a huge
Yeah.
like, the response, how we respond to each other has been a huge
Yeah.
learning thing for us and something that we are obviously continuing to work on, but I feel like we've come a long way.
yeah,
for
I guess
sure.
a tangible example along with that is a couple months ago, I had a situation where there was a tournament going on at my school, and I ended up being home a lot later than I thought I was going to be. And instead of just being like, "Look, I have to take care of this. This is my job. I'm a head coach. This is, you deal with it." I said, "I'm so sorry. I wish I was home right now. I'm miserable. I'm tired.
I'm upset
I'm
too.
I'm really sorry. I'm upset. I know you're upset. I apologize, and I wish I could be there. It happened like this, and it was way better."
Yeah, it was so much like even just you getting home, I felt so much more of like a connection and like the desire to like want to be around you because I knew you were bummed too versus like what probably would have happened in the past was I was just upset with you that you wouldn't even allow me to be upset about the fact you were home late, so then I would kind of isolate myself and be
Yeah.
irritated with you and not and you're irritated yourself, so it just it was like a vicious cycle of, that we would do for years. But yeah, that was a great tangible example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it. Sorry, this has been really long.
That is it, you guys. This is so sad. It's the end of an era.
It is.
Do you know what that's from?
No.
Oh my gosh. Guys, he knows nothing about me. It's a Friends quote.
Oh yeah. I've never liked Friends.
I know. I cannot believe we're still married over that. But in all honesty, we are so appreciative of everybody who's listened and contributed and had feelings or opinions or thoughts and questions about just what we've gone through. Like, I think the support has been really awesome. We really didn't know what to expect in starting this. So
No.
I think we just kind of started to share our story, really. And it's been so great for us to be able to do that. And I think we've mentioned this either, I think in the first or second episode, but I think something that's been for me is it's been an opportunity for Ben and I to share our story in a way that we never have been able to before, like together. And it's allowed going like rehashing a lot of the terrible things that we've gone through and the terrible things that we've done to each other. It's almost like God has allowed us another chance to be to each other now what we couldn't have been back then, because we just weren't capable of being the thing we needed to, for each other. So I'm really thankful for that. And that I didn't anticipate that outcome in doing this. And, but I think it's brought such a greater understanding to each other. Don't you think?
Yeah.
And just being able to share our story, and we just are thankful for everybody that's listened.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks a whole
Wow.
lot.
Wow.
Thanks for
Thanks
just
for pant load.
not thinking we're the worst ever. So, or me, and Carly's a hero. So yeah. But no, really, dude, it's been fun.
It has been
It's
fun.
been fun.
And maybe we'll see you back here every now and then when we feel we have another Final Four thing to discuss. Or I'm sure I'll come up with more pet peeves, and there'll be plenty to share of those. Or obsessions.
Yeah, just give us a couple minutes.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So rude. So rude. But anyways, thank you guys so much, and we will say goodbye for now. Thanks for joining us on Bizography. Please subscribe or leave a comment. And if you have questions or want to open up a discussion, you can find us on Instagram or Facebook at Bizography. See you next time.